Right. That email you sent me says the real innovators don't follow patterns, they find new paths for themselves. Obviously, you've got spectacular experience having built and sold a large company. We'll talk about that more, but can you address what you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, there's a lot of investors that are out there that are looking for trends that they can kind of see happening over and over again. So a lot of times you get asked those questions. But again, if you're looking at this from an entrepreneurial perspective, it's, how do I disrupt? And the way you disrupt is not following kind of those previous patterns. So, um, in our current business, which is Pinch, I mean, we started out with it's a kind of Uber of the house cleaning industry. It's, when you're in a pinch, you need your house cleaned after a party, like you go after it and you put in a job and we'll get you a cleaner instantly. But what you realize is that's kind of the me too, so we can do that. And it's super difficult to, we've talked about this before. It's super difficult to market to consumers um, in a way like that. So it's like, how do you find a different path that you can follow that hasn't been paved before for you? And I mean, for us, we found kind of this niche in the multifamily space where home cleaners that would love to sell to property managers and apartments. Like, they can't do it. There's the insurance requirements, the way that they pay, the back office requirements needed. They just can't do it. And that's for us, we're like, oh, that is disruptive. That is something
Mhm.
that's never happened before. So let's go after that. And so you look at companies like Uber, I mean, it's like they didn't follow a pattern that anybody had before. And you look at like how they've changed our lives and the way that we look at getting a taxi cab essentially. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's kind of the advice to the entrepreneurs.
I was just making videos about that too. It's like the way I like to phrase it is doing the opposite. It's like what is the exact opposite of everyone? Everyone's doing this. How can I look at something in the opposite way that is to stand out, to solve a problem, and be different? It's every time that we talk about doing something that's the opposite or trying to find your own path, however the phrasing is, it's the way to go. And like we talk to so many brand owners that are starting their skincare brand and it's got no unique message and it's the same white label products and they think it's going to be spectacular. It's like, man, you've got to do something different.
Yeah, you got to find a different way to do it. And even if you're going to get into you know a commodity, it's like there are avenues that haven't been explored yet. For us, it's like cleaning. I mean,
Right,
you first look at cleaning, you go, "Oh, I mean, that's been done 1,000 times over." So
right.
you gotta just, and it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's hard to have that idea just instantly. So you gotta kind of pave your way and figure it out. But eventually those things happen, and then you have to be willing to dive into it. Once you kind of
Mhm.
see that light at the end of the tunnel, like this is potentially good, you have to take some risks and go in hard. Because again, if you're just the me too, what value are you really bringing? You're not really being disruptive.
What do you look for as those indicators to dive in? Is there a revenue that you'd like to hit, or is there customer feedback that's consistently positive? Hey, we have 300 like surveys, let's say on site, would might be like 300 surveys is usually enough data for us to make an indication that, hey, this is working.
You know, I I don't look at that as a data point. I look at that as that's kind of a feeling. I mean, I go back to my previous business with bongos. Like we were out talking to retailers all the time about their challenges selling their products internationally, and it was like you could start feeling where the pains were, and so you had to dive in. You had to ask a lot of questions. You had to understand it a lot better, and then you had to create solutions that were going to be viable. With Pinch and the multifamily, it's very similar. There wasn't, for us, it was we went from a strategy of, heavy advertising to a strategy of sales, heavy
Mhm.
sales. And for us, it was like we started seeing that there was the initial communication from property managers with these multifamily sites, it's like they were showing us the pain. It was just conversations. And so we said, okay, we need to try this. And as soon as we had our first sale and our second sale and our third sale, then we were just like, you just looked at the numbers and it spoke to us right away.
Hmm.
And we've experienced that in a number of different businesses now. It's like you just have to, at some point in time, that light kind of comes on. but I wouldn't say it's any specific financial metric. Again, it kind of goes back to there's not this pattern that has to show itself. It, for me at least, it's been a lot more on just what's the feeling that's
Kind of feeling of
happening right
momentum.
now.
Right. Hey, this thing keeps happening and it's good. Maybe we
Yeah,
can do more of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then when you push in, the harder you push into it, the more it just shows itself to you. The
And
more
when you're pushing in, is it also a conscious feeling of letting things go also?
That's the hardest part
Yeah.
because especially if you've built, you've had years of kind of building up this, this product or this product set, and then something else is showing itself. You're dabbling a little, but you want to hold on back here.
Right.
And at some point in time, you have to make that decision. Either I'm gonna because I think focus is so important,
Mhm.
when you have too many areas of focus in your business, you're not good at any of them.
Right.
And you'll just flounder. So I think it's, once you find it, you really got to kind of own it. And then depending on what your business is, you either need to completely let go of that other, or it has to be somehow adding value to what your new strategy is. So,
Right.
you look at kind of vision and mission of a business. Like your vision's probably not changed, but the mission, how you're going to get there, that can change all the time, and
Yeah.
probably should change all the time. At least that's how I've kind of looked at it, and
No,
it's
I tend to
tough.
agree with you too. You're leaving something on the table with most change decisions. There's change loss for everything. Even changing agencies, there's change loss. Changing jobs, there's change loss. Changing directions at the company or changing focuses, there's going to be some change loss. So it's the opportunity cost of what's bigger and better, probably.
For sure, for
All right,
sure.
brother. Well, thank you for joining, guys. This is Greg. You can go find Pinch. They have mostly in the southeast right now, but a great founder who's built and sold a company for more than $40 million in the e-com logistics space. Your words are wise, and I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks.